Hettu and Lushu come from different places. Their diagrams are different. Yet the positions of 1, 3, and 5 are exactly the same. The 5 elements and directions they represent are also the same. What deep meaning does this contain? Our country is called China. Our people are called the Chinese nation. Our culture is called Chinese culture. What does this character middle represent? Why does it appear so widely in Chinese life and thought, and where did it come from? Professor Tseng Xiang of National Taiwan Normal University will guide us in appreciating the wisdom of the I Ching. This is episode 4, The Human-Centered Principle. Some people say the story of the dragon horse carrying the Hettu and the Lushu appearing on the back of a tortoise was invented by people who favored the theory of the 5 elements. Whether this is true or false, we do not need to spend too much effort worrying about it. What if it is true? What if it is false? What matters most is how we use it and how we bring out its value. That is more important. Although both the Hettu and Lushu are images revealed by heaven, they are still somewhat different. The Hettu contains numbers from 1 to 10. There are 10 numbers in total. The Lushu contains only numbers from 1 to 9. The number 10 has disappeared. The main difference between the Lushu and the Hettu is this. The positions of 1, 3, and 5 are exactly the same as in the Hettu. The positions of the other 6 numbers are completely different. To put it more clearly, among the heavenly numbers, the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, the positions of 1, 3, and 5 remain unchanged. 7 and 9 change. Among the earthly numbers, the even numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8 all 4 change positions. This shows that the same principle, when symbolized and explained in different ways, can contain slight differences. It does not mean there is only one fixed interpretation. I think this is also a very important spirit of the I Ching. We must always make appropriate adjustments according to the person, the matter, the place, and the time. It is not that every situation has only one explanation. This is why we do not approve of making absolute judgments. Once you do that, you reduce all possibilities to only one possibility. That is determinism. The I Ching is not determinism. The I Ching gives you many possible changes and allows you to choose for yourself. Only in this way does it have a relationship with morality. If everything were determined, what would morality have to do with it? If a person's original fate is unfavorable, cultivating virtue can transform it and make it better. This is what is meant by saying that heaven has the virtue of cherishing life. This is why human beings must cultivate themselves. So what has the Buddha been discussing all this time? The similarities and differences between the Hettu and Lushu illustrate the most fundamental idea of the I Ching. Everything is in the process of change. This is why the I Ching is also called the classic of change. The changes of the I Ching proceed in this way. Taiji gives rise to the 2 modes. The 2 modes give rise to the 4 images. The 4 images give rise to the 8 trigrams. The 8 trigrams give rise to the 64 hexagrams. So how do the Hettu and Lushu express these changes? We can say that the Hettu is the pre-heaven substance, while the Lushu is the post-heaven function. Substance and function cannot be separated, but both contain forward and reverse movement, because both are key. In the Hettu, Yang moves in the forward direction. Yin moves in the reverse direction. It shows only Taiji giving rise to the 2 kinds of Qi, Yin and Yang. Yin moves counterclockwise. Yang moves clockwise. Each forms its own Qi. This is what is called Taiji, giving rise to the 2 modes. The Lushu tells us that beneath the 2 modes, there can be further transformation into the 4 images. The movement of Qi in the Lushu produces 4 systems: Yang moves clockwise from 1 to 3. Yang moves counterclockwise from 7 to 9. Yin moves clockwise from 4 to 2. Yin moves counterclockwise from 8 to 6. Because these four movements are different, the two modes give rise to the four images. This tells us that within forward movement, there is reverse movement. And within reverse movement, there is forward movement. In other words, within Yang, there is Yin. Within Yin, there is Yang. Yin and Yang cannot be completely separated. Modern people like to divide things very clearly. This is right, that is wrong, this is black, that is white, this is 3, that is 2. But this is not entirely appropriate. Since everything is constantly changing, on what basis can we say something is definitely good? So when we teach children from a young age that this is right and that is wrong, they may suffer greatly throughout their lives. Adults should tell children, at your current age, you can regard this as right, and that is fine. But as you grow older, your understanding will change. We must leave room from the beginning. What is right can become wrong. What is wrong can become right. Within what is good, there can be much that is bad. Within what is bad, there can also be something good. Only this accords with the principle that the alternation of yin and yang is the Tao. After reading the I Ching, your way of thinking must be adjusted in a reasonable way. Otherwise, you are merely memorizing passages to pass examinations, or memorizing them fluently and using them to deceive others. In that case, it would be better not to read it. What does it mean that the positions of 1 and 3 do not change? It is easier to understand why 5 does not change position, because 5 is located in the center. 5 is the position of Earth among the 5 elements. It represents the middle, and the middle cannot be moved arbitrarily, but the other numbers can all change. So why can 1 and 3 not change? Because 1 is the position of water. There is a traditional cosmological formula. Heaven 1 generates water. Heaven 3 generates wood. Heaven 5 generates earth. According to this formula, all things begin from water. Without water, there is nothing to discuss. Modern scientists also tell us that after the Big Bang, living things gradually emerged from water. Even today, a large part of the human body is still water. 3 is the position of the sun. Heaven 3 generates wood. Where does wood come from? It comes from soil. Therefore, wood has a very close relationship with water and earth. If our earth had only soil and no water, human beings could not exist. With earth and water, wood naturally grows. So these 3 things can be described with 4 characters: roots and sources. We call them roots and sources because earth seems to disappear from the phrase. That is because earth is hidden. Wherever grass can grow, wherever trees can grow, that place must be suitable for human settlement. Following water and grass to settle was a guiding principle for our ancestors. From that time onward, we understood that wood and water sources are the foundations of human survival. These 2 elements cannot be moved because they are the pre-heaven generative forces. Even without knowledge, people naturally seek these 2 things. Animals know where water is. They know where trees are. Some even climb into trees. In this respect, they can be more perceptive than human beings because they rely on these things to survive. After humans gained knowledge, they gradually forgot their instincts. This is something we as human beings must be highly aware of. Our sensitivity to many natural phenomena is becoming weaker and weaker, far behind that of ordinary animals. Water is the source. Wood is what we can see. When we see a forest from far away, we know there must be water there. The whole is sustained by earth, which allows these things to exist and develop. These are the essential foundations of human life. Therefore, The fact that the positions of 1, 3, and 5 remain unchanged in the Hettu and Lushu has given Chinese people a deeply rooted belief. People must not forget their origins. When drinking water, they should remember its source. This is the meaning. The Hettu song states the same traditional formula. Heaven 1 generates water. Heaven 3 generates wood. Heaven 5 generates earth. In other words, 1 represents water, 3 represents wood, 5 represents earth. Heaven 1 generating water is the origin. It is the pre-heaven generative force. Then, what is the post-heaven generative force? What is most important in the post-heaven generative process? What serves as its pioneer? It is wood. In the pre-heaven state, there is water. From water comes the post-heaven wood. Therefore, in the East, the number 3 is used to represent it. When we connect numbers with their functions and directions and consider them as a whole, the overall understanding becomes very clear. All things depend on 3. 3 is the position of the sun. This means that if the sun did not rise from the east, all things could not come into being. Therefore, both 1 and 3 are extremely important for humanity. What about 5? 5 is called the earth of the center. It is the earth element associated with the middle position in the 5 elements. It represents our original pure nature. Wood has roots. Water has a source. Human beings must have virtue. This idea comes from here. A tree without roots will soon either fall or decay. If the source of water dries up, the water will soon disappear. The same is true of people. If a person's virtue is poor, everything that person possesses will eventually become an illusion, a mirage, and quickly disappear. The Hettu and Lushu have a very close relationship with Chinese people. Of course, when you say this, the Dutch are very happy. So we are a culture of the Central Plains, the heartland of Chinese civilization. Therefore, to understand what the culture of the river means, one naturally cannot separate it from the Hettu and Lushu. In both the Hettu and Lushu, the center is represented by 5. When you extend one hand, you have 5 fingers. So what does the central 5 mean? It means that only when you can fully control and fully grasp something do you have the qualification to speak of 5. No matter how large a number is, by counting in 5s and 10s, it can quickly be calculated. Therefore, in this tradition, we speak only of being aligned with 5. We never speak of being aligned with 6 or 7. With 6 or 7, you may not be able to control it. Being aligned with 5 means, I can fully grasp it. That is what the expression means. Today we often talk about core teams, but have you thought about whether you can actually control and manage them? If you cannot, then it is not the middle. It is not appropriate. Expanding this further, what is China? Why are we called Chinese people? Why is it called Chinese culture? Why is it called the Chinese nation? All of this is related to the middle. Why does everything about us revolve around this single character, middle? What exactly does it mean, and where did it come from? We know that ancient people had no written texts. How could the character for middle suddenly appear? The middle is Taiji. So how is Taiji related to the middle? If we deconstruct Taiji using modern concepts and examine its structure, it contains many forms of change. When written as a square character, it becomes the character for middle. In other words, the middle is not a fixed goal. It is flexible. As long as something remains within a reasonable range, it is called the middle. Those who truly understand know that the meaning of the middle is reasonableness. Reasonableness is not a fixed standard. People have many different factors and conditions. The environments they face are also different. How can you demand one fixed standard? It cannot be done. Influenced by mathematics and industry, modern people seek standardization. They want everything to be the same. Education also shapes people to become identical. All of this is unreasonable. Every person who comes into this world is meant to become a different person, not the same person. Therefore, when we speak of reasonableness, the characteristic of Chinese culture appears. Great similarity with minor differences. We cannot demand complete sameness. It is impossible to make everything identical. Those who have studied the I Ching understand why religion should have freedom. It is because all religions are similar. If saying they are all the same is difficult to accept, then say they have great similarity with minor differences. From the Chinese perspective, Buddhism, Christianity, Catholicism, and Islam all have great similarity with minor differences. If you ask people from these religions what their purpose is, they will say, to encourage people to be good and to do good deeds. They share this understanding. Therefore, in the Chinese cultural tradition, it is said that if you can use the I Ching to explain everything, you are a standard Chinese person. Today, however, people often do the opposite. After studying Buddhism, they use Buddhist morality to explain the I Ching. After studying Christianity, they use Christian ideas to explain the I Ching. This seems to reverse the proper order and is not appropriate. China is a country that values reasonableness in everything. We are not like the West, which often emphasizes the rule of law. Although today, the rule of law is discussed everywhere. We emphasize the rule of reason and the rule of virtue. This is a higher level, but we must make clear that the rule of virtue and the rule of reason are built on the foundation of the rule of law. Then everything becomes clear. Chinese people are very law-abiding. A person who does not obey the law cannot be considered Chinese. But our law is not rigid. It is living. That is exactly where the difficulty lies. So what is a Chinese person? In one sentence, a person who can adapt to circumstances anytime and anywhere, but who never takes advantage of situations or acts opportunistically, is qualified to be called Chinese. Only then can we understand the doctrine of the mean. To seek what is reasonable in all things is the doctrine of the mean. Only then can we understand why the greatest achievement of Yao and Shun was holding to the middle and applying the middle. They were connected with the middle. From this perspective, it is clear that Chinese people do value the doctrine of the mean, because they seek reasonableness in everything. But the question is, what is the standard of reasonableness? Why does it often happen that one person says they have reason and another person also says they have reason? In Chinese society, few people dispute the idea that everything should be reasonable. The more difficult question is, what does reasonable mean? Whose reason does it follow? This is where the greater debate lies. Generally speaking, if something matches my own reason, I accept it. If it does not match my reason, I reject it. This is an incorrect view and an unhealthy attitude. But many people are like this, so we must be careful. There is a traditional saying that three aspects together establish reason. First, it must accord with heavenly principle. Second, it must accord with human principle. Third, it must accord with earthly principle. Only when all three are satisfied can it be called reasonable. For anything, examine heavenly principle, human principle, and earthly principle, and bring them together. Then you can find the point of reasonableness. Many people today debate whether human beings live for themselves or for others. This is an unnecessary debate. The principle that the alternation of yin and yang is the Tao tells us that we must live both for ourselves and for others. That is the proper way. When you find a reasonable point, observe how people respond. If everyone responds positively, you still need to be careful. Is it genuine, or is it because of benefits and interests? If everyone responds negatively, you also need to be alert. What problem might be hidden here? Why can we not immediately react? Why can we not instantly make a decision? Because all yin and yang changes are extremely complex. We must settle ourselves, carefully examine the situation, understand it thoroughly, try it first, observe the response, and only then begin to make an initial decision. Why is it called the four-ring circle? The I Ching tells us 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 1. This kind of idea is relatively difficult for Westerners to understand. Therefore, the West has long debated monism and pluralism. The debate has continued for more than 2,000 years without a conclusion because it does not conform to natural phenomena. In nature, one cloud quickly becomes two clouds, and two clouds merge back into one. Everything is constantly changing. With yin and yang, it is the same. If yang is stretched too far, it breaks and yang becomes yin. When two yin aspects come close together, yin becomes yang again. These changes can be observed at any time. We must understand clearly that human beings are living beings. The earth is living. Everything is living. We should not turn living things into fixed, dead things. Therefore, Chinese people often like to say more or less. This is a very high form of wisdom, but today it has been misunderstood. When people hear more or less, they often think, how can this person be like that? In fact, the entire I Ching tells us only 4 words, roughly so. A person's greatest ability is to understand that things are roughly so. What else can you do? Can you state everything with absolute certainty? It is impossible. Language and text themselves are limitations. Human understanding is very limited. Expression is even more limited. No matter how eloquent you are, your words cannot fully express your meaning. Rawly so and more or less require time and gradual understanding. Otherwise, it is very difficult to gain a deep understanding of the I Ching. How do we express more or less and rawly so? We divide the countless phenomena of the universe into 64 hexagrams. They are called situations. Each of these 64 situations is further divided into 6 stages. These 6 stages are divided into 3 levels. The top 2 lines are called the heavenly way. The bottom 2 lines are called the earthly way. The middle 2 lines are called the human way. What we need to understand is this. Everything is based on the human-centered principle. The human-centered principle contained in the ancient I Ching is now widely recognized by modern people. It has become a core concept in modern enterprise management. But we should trace back to the source and ask, what exactly does the human-centered principle mean? Except for the top line and the first line, which are difficult for us to change, the other 4 lines can all be changed through human will. No matter how advanced science becomes, it remains the same. When you look at the sky from an airplane, you discover that there is still more above you. This tells you that the highest heaven is still beyond complete understanding. The deepest earth is also still beyond complete understanding. But the heaven and earth close to our living environment have almost all been explored and understood by us. The 6 lines of the I Ching correspond exactly to the present environment. What does this show? It shows that all knowledge is guided by human beings and must stand from a human-centered perspective. This is something the West strongly disagrees with. The West says, I pursue knowledge for the sake of knowledge. I have nothing to do with human beings. Whether it is useful or not is not my concern. I pursue truth and seek to know what truth is. I think the Chinese approach is not quite like this. Let us consider a few statements for reference. First, good fortune, misfortune, disaster, and blessing appear because of people. If there were no people, what would good fortune, misfortune, disaster, or blessing mean. There would not even be a feeling of them. It is because there are people that we feel this is bad and that is good. Cars should not collide. People should not be overcrowded and need proper distance. These issues exist because there are people. Whether something is favorable or unfavorable, active or still, becomes clear because of people. What does favorable mean? If people disappeared, what would favorable and unfavorable mean? Nothing. A typhoon would no longer be a typhoon. An earthquake would have no meaning. If there were no people, all these changes would simply be animals moving around, and everything would pass. Animals, plants, and minerals are distinguished because of people. Only humans observe and classify. This is an animal. Animals can be divided further. This is a plant. Some are poisonous, and some can be eaten. This is a mineral. This is precious, especially jade, which can symbolize the underworld or represent various meanings, and so on. What does this prove? If there were no people, all this knowledge would not exist. How could we deny that knowledge is created for human beings? Even today, all hospitals are led by people. You have never seen a hospital director who is a dog or a cat. That is impossible. Then on what basis can we deny the leading role of human beings in the universe? The human-centered perspective has always been an important concept in Chinese culture. This is one of the great insights that the I Ching gives us.